This is the Angel Next Door podcast, where we will talk about all things angel investing. What it is, who does it, how do we find them, what does it mean to invest in an early stage company? If you have ever wondered how you can affect the change you want to see in the world, then tune in to learn more.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Angel Next Door podcast. I'm your host, Marcia Dawood, and if you're new here, the podcast is about more than just angel investing. It's about rethinking who gets to invest, how we fund innovation, and how we use our capital, financial and otherwise, to shape the future we want to live in. We just crossed 130 episodes, and that feels surreal to say. When the show launched in 2021, I started it with one goal: to highlight the stories behind angel investors. What makes someone decide to invest in a startup? How can we get more funding into the hands of founders, building the kind of world that we want to see? And since then, it's grown. We've had 6 U.S. congressional representatives on the show, 2 SEC commissioners, and we've gone deep on equity crowdfunding, debt crowdfunding, taxes and other regulation, and of course, one of my favorites, using philanthropic capital to invest in for-profit businesses. And if you've been hanging out with us since the beginning, thank you. And if you're newer here, there's a lot of archive content to catch up on. You can go to my website at marciadawood.com and find different playlists on each of these topics so that it's more easy to navigate in one spot. But today's episode is a pivot point, a widening of the lens. Because after 130 episodes, hundreds of conversations, and now publishing a book last September, Do Good While Doing Well, Invest for Change, Reap Financial Rewards, and Increase Your Happiness, it's clearer to me than ever that before we can talk about angel investing, we also have to talk about money. Not just about how to make or invest it, but what it means to us, what we believe about it, what we fear about it, and what holds us back. Because for a lot of people, especially women, investing in private companies feels completely out of reach. Not because of income or wealth necessarily, but because it's just not something we're taught. It's not something that we see reflected in the media we consume, and historically, it's not something that we've been invited to. The language around money has been gatekept, wrapped in jargon, or handed off to a financial advisor. Let the men or the experts handle that. That's the message many of us have received in subtle and not so subtle ways. But even though I wrote Do Good While Doing Well to encourage more people to become investors, I was surprised, but not shocked, that so much of the feedback has come from entrepreneurs. Founders are telling me that the book helped them to understand the different ways that they could raise money. And that tells me something. It tells me that both sides of the early stage investing equation, investors and founders, are still figuring it out, still looking for a blueprint, still trying to find language for things that weren't taught in school and don't often come up in everyday conversation. If we want more people, especially more women, more people of color, more people with non-finance backgrounds, to step into the role of investor, we have to back up and talk about the foundations. We have to talk about money. Before we can talk about deal flow, valuations, or term sheets, we need to talk about money and our relationship to it. So that's why moving forward, in addition to all the content you've come to expect from the Angel Next Door, interviews with investors, founders, policymakers, and ecosystem builders, you're also going to hear more conversations about wealth, what it means, how we define it, how our personal history with money shapes the way we show up as investors and as founders. You'll notice this shift reflected in our branding too. The name of the podcast isn't changing, it's still the Angel Next Door, but we're adding these words to our graphic: Wealth Reimagined. Because that's really what we're doing here. We're reimagining what wealth means, not just in dollars in a bank account, but emotional wealth, relational wealth, community wealth, time wealth, the kind of abundance that aligns with your values and goals, not somebody else's. This isn't a departure from what the Angel Next Door is about, it's a deepening. Because investing is personal, it's more than numbers on a spreadsheet. It's an expression of who we are and what we believe. And early stage investing, angel investing, is especially personal. You're not just buying a stock. You're betting on people. You're backing innovation, vision, values, and momentum at the very beginning. So if someone feels disconnected from their own money story or unsure about whether they can be an investor, we've got to meet them there. So we're going to talk about all kinds of wealth. And we're going to dig into questions like, what were you taught about money growing up? Who do you think is allowed to be an investor? What does wealth mean to you beyond dollars? What fears do you have about losing money? And where do they come from? And what would it look like to fund the future you believe in? What would it look like every day to wake up and know that your money is helping you to build the kind of life that you really want? If the goal is to democratize early stage investing and bring in more diverse capital to fund diverse founders, then we need to make the emotional and psychological pathways just as clear as the legal and financial ones. We need to normalize conversations about money, power, and access. And that means making space for nuance, vulnerability, and truth-telling. To be clear, the podcast is still a resource for anyone looking to learn how to invest in early stage companies, but it's also becoming a space to reflect on what it means to be an investor and how we can each define that on our own terms. Whether you're an entrepreneur trying to understand your options for raising capital or someone who's curious about how to start investing in startups, even if you don't fit the stereotype of an angel investor, you belong here. This is the next generation of investors, the unlikely ones, the underestimated ones, the ones who are ready to do good while doing well. So stay tuned. Upcoming episodes will explore everything from investment readiness to value-aligned portfolios to how couples talk about money. We'll have guests across sectors, social impact, finance, philanthropy, tech, and we'll continue shining light on innovations and founders changing the game. Because when more people understand how money works and more people feel empowered to use it intentionally, that's how we change what gets built. That's how we make capital more conscious, more inclusive, more catalytic. And that's what the Angel Next Door has always been about. So thanks for being on this journey with me. I'm so excited for what's next. So if you've gotten something out of the show, if the episode helped you to take action, shift your mind, or even just feel seen, please take a minute and leave a review wherever you listen. It really helps more people to find this show, and it lets us keep growing the community of next generation investors. And if you haven't already, grab a copy of Do Good While Doing Well. There's a book and a workbook, and it's available wherever books are sold. And as always, if this episode resonated with you, share it with a friend, and let's keep the conversation going. Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening. To connect with me, visit my website at marciadawood.com. And please subscribe, follow, and leave a review. It helps the podcast get seen by more people. And remember, you can also find the Angel Next Door podcast on YouTube too. And if you're looking to learn more about investing in the changes you want to see in the world, sign up for Ann and Bill Payne's ACA Angel University classes. Go to theangelcapitalassociation.org, all one word, to find out the schedule. And classes are now available on demand. Many classes are offered, everything from angel investing basics, which include fundamentals, risk, due diligence, term sheets, valuations, returns and portfolio strategy, and even a class on group formation. There's even a deeper dive where you can get advanced classes, including capitalization tables, startup boards, and exit strategies. If you're not already a member of the Angel Capital Association, you can become one for a low price that will give you unparalleled access to discounts, free webinars with a huge archive of content, networking opportunities, and much more. We'd love to have you join us.
All content for this website is informational and not intended to serve as legal, tax, accounting, or investing advice. While Marcia, that's me, does serve on the SEC Small Business Capital Formation Advisory Committee, my views are my own and not the views of the SEC or my fellow colleagues on the committee. Our speakers and hosts are thoughtfully selected for their educational value, but their opinions are their own and do not necessarily represent the views of the host, me, or the Angel Capital Association, and neither specifically endorse the use of presenters' products or services. Listeners of the podcast should consult their own tax, investing, legal, or accounting advisors before making important financial decisions. All warranties, including accuracy, completeness, and suitability for specific purpose, are disclaimed.